The night hums with fluorescent buzzing. A mop sloshes across cracked tiles. The air is sharp with a sting of bleach mixed with something sour. On his knees, scrubbing grime from a bathroom floor, a man in a faded polo shirt and worn jeans pauses. Sweat clings to his brow. His cap is pulled low. To anyone watching, he looks like just another nervous new hire, doing the worst job nobody else wanted. But what no one knows is that this man, Noah, is the CEO of the entire company. The restaurant beyond the bathroom is a storm of noise. Fryers hiss as oil pops. Orders are shouted across the counter. Trays slam. Customers chatter impatiently. The smell is overwhelming. Grease, sugar, cleaning chemicals. Noah steps back into the chaos, mop still in hand. A sharp voice cuts through the din. "New guy," the shift manager snaps. "Bathroom still dirty? Move faster. And don't stand around staring. We've got customers waiting." Noah nods quietly, lowering his head. He doesn't argue. He observes. The first injustice comes quickly. A teenager working the fryer pulls out a basket of fries, flinching when her hand brushes the edge of the fryer. She gasps softly. "Can I grab some burn cream?" she asks, showing a red welt. The manager doesn't even glance at her. Later, customers first. Get back to work. She bites her lip, blinking back pain, and continues. In the back, an immigrant worker juggles heavy trays, arms shaking. "Careful, careful," a co-worker sneers under his breath. "Surprised you even know what a cheeseburger is." Noah clenches his jaw. His instinct is to step in, but he swallows it. He's here to learn, to see what his workers endure. And then he notices Maria. Mid-30s, tired eyes, but a smile she keeps forcing through exhaustion. She moves constantly, taking orders, cleaning spills, delivering trays. She is patient with rude customers. She is kind to her co-workers. But when she glances at her phone, Noah notices a small photo tucked behind the case. A boy, maybe 7 or 8. On break, Noah sits near her. "You've been running non-stop," he says casually. "Long shift." She half laughs. "Long week. But that's every week here. You got family waiting for you." Her smile softens. "My son, I try to make it work for him. But it's hard. Do they ever give you flexibility? Time off if you need it?" She shakes her head, her voice lowering. "Help? No. I asked once to switch a shift for his school play. They told me to find another job if I couldn't handle this one." Noah doesn't reply, but her words cut deep. The dinner rush slams in like a wave. Customers fill the lobby, the line curling to the door. The manager grows sharper. "Move faster. Stop wasting time." Maria drops a tray in the chaos, food scattering. The manager's voice booms. "That's coming out of your paycheck." She bends silently, trembling. The teenager is sent back to the fryer with no bandage. The immigrant worker is told to stay for a double shift. And Noah is shoved back toward the bathrooms. From inside, scrubbing the toilets again, he hears voices outside. "New guy's perfect." One manager laughs. "Dumb enough to scrub bathrooms without question." "Yeah," another adds. "Keep him back there. Don't need him slowing us down." Noah stops scrubbing. His hands tremble, not from exhaustion, but from rage. The breaking point comes when a customer complains about slow service. The manager, red-faced, lashes out. At Maria, "This is your fault. Can't you handle one simple order?" Maria stammers, apologizing, tears welling in her eyes. Noah steps forward, fists clenched, but swallows his anger. Not yet. The next morning, a mandatory staff meeting is called. The managers lean smugly at the front. Noah walks in, not in a polo and cap, but in a sharp-tailored suit. His presence shifts the air instantly. Whispers ripple. Maria's eyes widen. The teenager gasps. The manager's pale. Noah's voice is calm, but heavy. "My name is Noah. I'm not a new hire. I am the CEO of this company, and I've been working here undercover." The room is stunned. "I built this company on respect, for people, for hard work. But what I saw here, humiliation, exploitation, cruelty, that ends today." The managers stammer excuses. Noah cuts him down, laughing at workers, threatening to cut pay, forcing people past their limits. That is not leadership. That is failure. And it ends now. The managers are dismissed on the spot. Noah turns to Maria. Your resilience, your dedication, it deserves recognition. You're promoted to assistant manager, with flexible hours, so you never have to miss another school play. Maria covers her mouth, tears streaming. The teenager is promised full medical coverage. The immigrant worker is enrolled in language training and given a clear path to promotion. Justice ripples across the room. Relief washes over the workers. That night, Maria hugs her son outside the restaurant, tears of joy streaking her face. Noah watches silently, humbled. For the first time in months, hope feels possible. But just as he drives home, his phone buzzes. A new message flashes across the screen. You think you fix things? You have no idea what's really happening inside your company. Meet me tomorrow, alone. Noah stares at the screen, his jaw tightening. This isn't over. Leadership is not about sitting above others. It's about kneeling beside them. It's about scrubbing floors, listening to pain, and standing up when no one else will. Noah entered the restaurant as a boss, but he left as a leader. Empathy is a quiet power that changes lives. Humility is the strength to listen. And resilience, the kind Maria showed every single day, is a courage that keeps hope alive. But sometimes, even the strongest leader learns, the fight for dignity doesn't end with one victory. It begins there. The text message, the shadow behind the managers, the promise of a darker truth waiting to be uncovered. The night after the reveal, Noah lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The message glowed in his mind like neon. You think you fix things? You have no idea what's really happening inside your company. Meet me tomorrow, alone. Who had sent it? A bitter manager? A prank? Or something more dangerous? Something buried deeper than one broken restaurant? At dawn, Noah put on the same polo and cap as before. He wasn't CEO today. He was still undercover. The meeting place was an abandoned lot behind a strip mall, asphalt cracked and sprouting weeds. A single figure leaned against a rusted lamppost, hood pulled low. When Noah approached, the figure looked up. It was Maria. Her eyes were sharper now, shadows of fear behind them. You weren't supposed to know it was me, she said quietly. But after yesterday, I think you need the truth. The truth spilled out in fragments. The managers Noah had fired, they weren't working alone. Their cruelty wasn't just bad personalities, it was systemic. The regional director, a man named Douglas Kane, encouraged it. He pushed stores to cut costs at any price. Bonuses were tied to squeezing workers until they broke. Injuries were hidden, hours stolen, corners cut. If anyone complains, Maria whispered, they are threatened or fired. I've seen it happen. I didn't dare speak before. But now, she looked at Noah, trembling. Now maybe someone will listen. Noah's chest tightened. Why didn't I see this? Why didn't anyone tell me? Because Maria said they were afraid of Cain. He doesn't answer to us. He only answers to you, and he tells you exactly what he wants you to hear. The next day, Noah walked into his corporate headquarters, not as an executive, but as a ghost haunting his own halls. He moved quietly, unnoticed, listening. The headquarters was a fortress of glass and chrome, far removed from the greasy chaos of the restaurants. Hey, the air smelled of polished wood and coffee beans. Laughter floated from corner offices. The disconnect was jarring. He overheard directors talking about efficiency targets and profit maximization. One even chuckled. If workers are complaining, that just means they are working hard enough. Every word felt like a knife. Later that afternoon, Noah called an unannounced meeting with Douglas Kane. Kane entered, tall and immaculately dressed, confidence oozing from every step. His smile was practiced, his handshake firm. Noah, he said warmly, I heard about the little field trip you did. Quite the stunt. Noah studied him. Not a stunt, a necessity. Kane leaned back. You've got to understand, frontline workers complain. That's normal. But numbers don't lie. Profits are up. Efficiency is up. Shareholders are happy. Isn't that what matters? Noah's jaw clenched. Not if those profits come from exploitation, from stolen wages, from treating people like machines. Cain smirked, spoken like a man who spent too much time scrubbing toilets. You're CEO, Noah. You can't afford to be sentimental. Leadership means hard choices. Noah's voice dropped. Leadership means responsibility. And I'm responsible for every worker who wears our uniform. I won't let cruelty be the cost of doing business. Cain's smile faded. His eyes turned cold. Be careful. You push this too far, and you'll lose everything. Noah didn't flinch, but inside, a storm brewed. He couldn't simply fire Cain. Not yet. Cain was too powerful, too connected within the board. He would need evidence, proof of what was really happening. And so, the undercover mission deepened. Noah returned to the restaurants, not just one, but many. Each visit revealed new scars. At one, a young father begged a manager for a schedule adjustment so he could see his newborn baby. The request was denied. At another, Noah saw an older woman working double shift with swollen ankles, her manager mocking her for slowing down. In a third, he discovered a back door padlocked during shifts, workers trapped inside for security. Each time, Noah collected names, stories, evidence. Each story weighed on him. And through it all, Maria stayed close, guiding him, connecting him to workers who had been silenced. The breaking point came when they met Carla. Carla was a single mother, barely 22, working night shift to afford her daughter's medicine. Her paychecks were mysteriously short every week. When she asked why, her manager shrugged. System glitch. Nothing I can do. But when Noah dug deeper, he found the truth. Hours were deliberately shaved from time cards. Cain's directive. Every glitch was another stolen dollar, another mother forced to choose between food and rent. Carla's voice cracked as she spoke. I stayed quiet because I need this job. But sometimes I think maybe my daughter would be better off if I wasn't here at all. Noah's heart dropped. This wasn't business anymore. This was survival. That night, Noah sat in his office, staring at stacks of documents, testimonies, pay stubs. The weight was crushing. He thought of Maria's son, the teenager's burn, the immigrant mock for his accent, Carla's trembling voice. He knew what had to be done. Noah called an emergency board meeting. The boardroom glittered with polished wood and silver nameplates. Executives leaned back in leather chairs, expensive watches gleaming. Noah stood at the head of the table, a folder thick with evidence before him. He laid it all out. Stolen wages, falsified reports, unsafe conditions, photos, testimonies, faces of the people who had been ignored for years. When he finished, silence smothered the room. Finally, one board member cleared his throat. Noah, this is troubling, but Douglas has brought us record profits. The shareholders are pleased. Are you certain you want to jeopardize that? Noah slammed his fist on the table. Profits mean nothing if they are built on suffering. I will not lead a company that destroys lives. Either we act, or I walk away, and I take this public. The room erupted in whispers. Some looked shocked. Others looked furious. Cain, sitting at the far end, leaned forward slowly, his voice like venom. Careful, Noah. You're playing a dangerous game. Noah met his eyes. So are you, and your game is over. The board voted, reluctantly, narrowly, but decisively. Cain was suspended pending full investigation. Noah felt a surge of victory. For the first time, real change seemed possible. But as he left the boardroom, Maria waiting anxiously outside, a security guard slipped him a folded note. Noah opened it. Just 2 words, scrawled in shaky handwriting. Watch yourself. Empathy may open the door to truth, but courage keeps it open when the world tries to slam it shut. Noah learned that leadership isn't only about caring, it's about confronting power, no matter the cost. It is easy to celebrate profits. It is harder to see the invisible sacrifices beneath them. True leaders look past numbers to the people who make those numbers possible. But the moment you challenge corruption, you become a threat. And every threat is answered. As Noah stood outside the headquarters, the note heavy in his hand, he realized the fight was no longer just about wages or managers. It was about survival. Someone wanted him silenced, and they wouldn't stop. The note sat heavy in Noah's palm. Watch yourself. It wasn't signed. The handwriting was jagged, horrid. Was it a warning or a threat? He slipped it into his pocket and looked around the sleek corporate lobby. Everything appeared calm. Polished marble floors, the low hum of conversations, the scent of fresh espresso from the corner cafe. But beneath the surface, Noah felt it. The walls were closing in. That evening, he drove home through the city lights, headlights washing across his windshield like ghostly streaks. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. A voice crackled, distorted by static. You think suspending Kane solved anything? You don't understand how deep this goes. Stop digging, or you won't make it out alive. The line went dead. Noah's grip tightened on the wheel. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. The next morning, he walked into his office with resolve. His assistant handed him a stack of files. These came in overnight, anonymous deliveries. Inside the envelopes were photocopies, time cards altered by hand, pay stubs missing hours, disciplinary slips signed with Kane's initials. Evidence, the missing pieces. But the final envelope chilled him. A photo, Maria walking her son to school. A red circle drawn around them. Noah's throat tightened. This was no longer about numbers. It was personal. Determined, he gathered Maria, Carla, and several other workers in a safe location, a quiet cafe far from the city. He explained everything, the threats, the evidence, the risk. Maria's eyes widened. If Kane, or whoever's behind this, knows about us, we could be in danger. I know, Noah said. That's why we need to move carefully. But I promise you this, I will not let them silence you. Not anymore. Carla's voice shook. They already stole so much from us. If we back down now, they win again. Noah nodded. Her courage lit a fire inside him. The board meeting that week was tense. Noah walked in carrying the envelopes. He placed them on the polished table. Here's the truth. Kane wasn't just cutting corners. He was orchestrating fraud. Workers' wages stolen. Records falsified. And he didn't act alone. Gasps rippled through the room. But before he could continue, another board member spoke. Alan Mercer, silver hair, calm eyes, a man Noah had trusted for years. Noah, Alan said smoothly, these are serious accusations. But let's not forget Kane has delivered results. Perhaps you're letting sentiment cloud your judgment. Noah froze. Sentiment. These are human lives. Alan leaned back, steepling his fingers. And this is a business. We can't afford to let emotions derail profits. Shareholders won't tolerate it. The room divided instantly. Half the board shifted uncomfortably. The other half nodded in agreement. It hit Noah like a blow. Kane wasn't the only cancer. Others were complicit. That night, Noah returned to his office late. The building was nearly empty, shadows stretching across the floor. As he opened his door, he stopped cold. His desk had been ransacked, papers strewn, drawers pulled out, the envelope of evidence gone. His pulse raced. He checked his laptop. Files deleted, hard drive wiped, and on his chair, a single note. Walk away. The next morning, Maria called in tears. Noah, they followed me. A black SUV. Same street, 2 days in a row. Noah's blood boiled. I'll protect you. I swear it. But how? Desperate. Noah turned to the only person he thought he could trust, Alan Mercer. He explained about the threats, the missing evidence, the SUV. Alan listened quietly, nodding. You've made enemies, Noah. Dangerous ones. If I were you, I'd take a step back. Save yourself. I can't, Noah said. Too many lives are at stake. Alan's expression hardened. Then don't expect the board to stand with you. You're alone in this. For the first time, Noah saw it. Alan wasn't warning him. He was part of it. Later that week, Noah received a call from Kane himself. Brave man, Kane sneered, but you're out of your depth. Do you really think you can fight all of us? The board, the shareholders, the machine? Walk away, Noah, before you and your little friends get hurt. Noah's jaw tightened. I'd rather burn this company to the ground than let you keep destroying lives. Kane laughed darkly. Careful what you wish for. The next day, Maria didn't show up for her shift. Noah called. No answer. He drove to her apartment. Door unlocked. Inside, silence. The table was overturned, a chair broken. Her phone lay smashed on the floor. Panic surged through him. Maria and her son were gone. Courage isn't tested when the path is clear. It's tested when the world turns against you, when allies betray you, when threats grow louder than hope. Noah learned that leadership means carrying burdens you never asked for because others cannot. It means standing firm even when you are alone. But the higher you rise against corruption, the more dangerous the fall becomes. Maria and her son vanished. The evidence destroyed. Kane tightening his grip. Noah stands on the edge of collapse. The question now isn't just whether he can save his company. It's whether he can save the people he swore to protect. The search for Maria stretched into days. Each hour weighed like lead on Noah's chest. The polished halls of headquarters felt like a cage, while outside, the restaurants, the very heartbeat of the company, kept struggling unseen by those in power. And that's where Noah returned first. If he wanted to fight Kane and the board, he had to remember who he was fighting for. The first restaurant he visited was in a working-class neighborhood. Rain slicked the streets, neon signs reflecting in puddles. Inside, the lobby smelled of grease and coffee, but the atmosphere was heavy. At the counter, a young woman juggled 3 orders at once. She smiled politely at customers, but Noah noticed her shoes torn, soles worn through. Every time she stepped back, he saw her wince. When she asked the manager for a break, the answer was sharp. Break? We're swamped. You want a break. Go find another job. Noah's stomach tightened. Another injustice. Another wound. At the fryer station, a man in his 50s coughed repeatedly. His skin was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. I don't feel good, he murmured, leaning on the counter. The manager snapped. Tough. You leave? We're understaffed. You want to put everyone else in trouble? Get back to work. Noah watched, heart sinking, as a man forced himself upright, coughing into his sleeve, while customers, oblivious, grabbed trays of food. In the dining area, a mother with 2 small children argued at the counter. Her receipt showed charges of items she hadn't ordered, but the cashier, clearly exhausted, just shrugged. Talk to corporate. The manager barked. We don't handle refunds here. The woman left in tears, carrying food she couldn't afford, with hungry kids tugging at her sleeves. Everywhere Noah turned, he saw it. Exhaustion, disrespect, survival. The little cuts that bled workers dry day after day. These were the scars Kane's system had carved into the company. And as Noah watched, his resolve hardened. That night, he received a call from an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Maria's voice trembled through static. Noah, they have us. His heart leapt. Maria, where are you? I don't know. Some warehouse. My son. Her voice cracked. They said if you don't stop, they'll. The line cut. Noah's blood went cold. The next day, Noah marched into the boardroom. The long mahogany table gleamed under cold lights. Kane was there, his smirk unshaken despite suspension. Alan Mercer sat calmly, silver hair immaculate. Other board members shifted uneasily. Noah slammed a stack of papers on the table. This ends now. He laid out the injustices he had seen in the past week. Workers collapsing from exhaustion. Customers cheated. Families humiliated. This is not business. This is abuse. And it's on us. Alan raised an eyebrow. On Kane, perhaps. Not on us. Kane leaned forward. You can scream all you want, Noah, but without proof, it's your word against mine. Noah's voice thundered. Proof? You want proof? Then listen. He pressed play on his phone. Maria's trembling voice filled the room. They have us, my son. If you don't stop, they'll... Gasps rippled around the table. Kane's smile faltered. Noah turned, eyes blazing. This isn't business anymore. This is kidnapping, extortion, and I will not stay silent. The room erupted, board members arguing, some demanding police involvement. others hissing about scandal. Alan slammed his fist down. Enough. If this goes public, the company is ruined. We'll lose everything. Noah stood tall. Better to lose everything than to keep stealing from those who give us everything. For the first time, he saw cracks in the bold facade. Some were shaken, some ashamed. But Kane wasn't finished. His voice dripped venom. You won't make it out alive. Noah, walk away. Noah met his glare. Not a chance. That night, Noah followed a lead. An address scrawled on an anonymous tip slip under his office door. The warehouse loomed at the edge of the city. Corrugated steel walls rusted. Windows shattered. Inside, shadows moved. Crates stacked high. The air smelled of oil and mildew. And in the corner, Maria and her son, bound but alive. Noah's heart surged. Maria! But before he could move, figures stepped from the shadows. Kane's men. The leader sneered. You should have walked away. The fight that followed wasn't cinematic. It was raw, desperate. Noah wasn't a fighter, but he was a leader, and leaders protect. A struggle, shouts, fists. Noah took blows, his vision blurring, but he refused to fall. And just as a pipe was raised against him, sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights flooded the warehouse. Police stormed in. Kane's men scattered. Maria and her son were pulled to safety. And Kane himself, dragged from the shadows, wrists in cuffs, his smirk finally gone. The scandal broke like wildfire. Headlines screamed of corruption, fraud, kidnapping. Kane's empire crumbled overnight. Alan Mercer, exposed for complicity, resigned in disgrace. The board was gutted, rebuilt with leaders who understood that profit could never come before people. Noah stood before the workers weeks later, not in a suit, but in a polo and cap. I've walked your floors. I've scrubbed your toilets. I've heard your pain. And I promise you, never again will your voices be silenced. This company belongs to you as much as it belongs to me. The room erupted in applause, but Noah's eyes sought Maria's. She stood in the front row, her son at her side, tears shining. Leadership is not power. It is service. It is sacrifice. It is a willingness to stand in the fire so others don't have to. Empathy without action is empty. Humility without courage is silence. But together, empathy, humility, resilience, they are unstoppable. Noah learned that companies are not built on profits. They are built on people. And people, when respected, protected, and valued, create more than wealth. They create hope. The toilets he once scrubbed were never about dirt. They were about dignity. The lowest place taught him the highest truth. No leaders above those they lead. Weeks later, as Noah left his office at dusk, he received a plain envelope. Inside, a single photograph. Kane, sitting in a prison cell, smiling. On the back, 2 words were scrawled in ink. Not finished. The news cameras were long gone. The protests had quieted. The company, once on the brink of collapse, stood tall again, polished, rebranded, and renewed. Noah walked the halls of headquarters with cautious pride. Employees greeted him with nods, some with grateful smiles. Posters on the wall proclaimed the company's new motto, People First. Always. For the first time in years, there was hope, but hope is fragile. At first, everything seemed to work. New HR policies gave workers fair pay. Complaints were heard, not buried. Customer trust returned. The restaurants buzzed with fresh energy. Maria, now employed as a corporate liaison, became a symbol of resilience. Workers saw her not as a suit, but as one of them, someone who had felt the pain firsthand. Noah told himself the battle was won. But the battle wasn't over. The first crack came quietly. Noah was reviewing reports one evening when he noticed an inconsistency, a payroll discrepancy in one district. Workers were being paid less than promised. He flagged it as a clerical error. A week later, another inconsistency appeared, this time in a different region. Breaks weren't being logged, but hours were. Again, it was dismissed as an error. Errors that just happened to favor the company, not the worker. Then came the call from a longtime employee. Her voice shook as she told Noah, "They are cutting our hours again," said corporate audit it. Noah froze. He hadn't ordered anything of the sort. When he confronted the regional manager responsible, the man shrugged. "That's just how it's always been done. I thought you'd understand." Noah's chest tightened. The old system wasn't gone. It was hiding, adapting. One night, after a surprise inspection, Noah lingered in the break room of a struggling restaurant. The walls smelled of bleach. The soda machine hummed faintly. A young worker slumped in the corner, scrolling through her cracked phone. She looked up and asked softly, "Are things really different now?" Noah hesitated. "Why do you ask?" She gave a hollow laugh. "Because my mom used to work here. She said bosses always promise change, but nothing ever really changes." Her words hit harder than any boardroom battle. By the third month, Noah began to see the pattern. Abuse wasn't happening everywhere. It was concentrated in districts managed by people loyal to the old ways. People once tied to Cain. It was as though a ghost haunted the company, whispering orders Noah never gave. And then, one evening, his assistant entered his office with a pale face. She slid an envelope onto his desk. "No return address," she whispered. Inside was a single sheet of paper. On it, in neat, familiar handwriting, were 2 words: "Told you." Attached was a grainy photo of Cain, behind bars, smiling. Noah felt a chill crawl up his spine. Cain was locked away, but somehow he still had reach. The next day, an anonymous tip reached Noah's desk. It contained spreadsheets, emails, and routing numbers, evidence that profits were being siphoned into offshore accounts. The signature on one of the documents made his blood run cold. Alan Mercer, the man who had resigned in disgrace months ago. Noah realized then, Cain wasn't working alone. The rot in the company was deeper than he had imagined, its roots entwined with people he once trusted. The war wasn't over. It was only beginning. It is easy to believe that victory is the end of struggle, but corruption doesn't vanish in a single headline. It lingers in habits, in silence, in the shadows of those who profit from injustice. Noah learned that leadership is not about one grand gesture, but constant vigilance. A leader cannot simply win once. They must keep winning every day, in every small decision. Hope is fragile, but so is fear. And when people stand against fear, when they refuse to accept that this is how it's always been, that is when real change begins. Late at night, Noah's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a photograph. Maria, sitting at a table across from Alan Mercer, laughing, smiling. Beneath the image were 3 words: "You'll lose her." It had been 6 months since the warehouse raid. 6 months since Cain was dragged away in handcuffs, smirk fading under the flashing lights. 6 months since Noah promised his workers that the nightmare was over. And yet, the nightmare lingered. At first, the company flourished. Workers received raises. Medical benefits expanded. Schedules became flexible. For the first time in years, hope filled the restaurants. Customers noticed a difference. Smiles replaced sighs. But then, quietly, the cracks returned. In one restaurant, Noah observed a young worker standing at the counter, pleading with her manager. "My paycheck's short again," she said softly. "That's the 3rd time." The manager didn't even look up. "Talk to corporate. Nothing I can do." The girl's shoulders slumped. She walked away, whispering under her breath, "It's just like before." Noah froze. He had personally banned wage manipulation. How was it still happening? In another location, he saw a father wiping sweat from his brow, standing at the grill for 12 straight hours. When Noah asked if he'd had a break, the man laughed bitterly. "Breaks? You kidding? Manager says we're too short-staffed. If I stop, I get written up." Then came the incident that shattered Noah's confidence. A worker collapsed during a night shift, dehydration, exhaustion. The ambulance carried him away, and the next morning, Noah was told the official report had been edited. The cause? Unknown medical condition. The manager, when pressed, admitted it. "We were told not to mention overwork. Upper management doesn't want lawsuits." Noah's heart sank. It was happening again. That night, unable to sleep, he spread files across his desk. Pay records, shift schedules, incident reports. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The abuses weren't random. They were concentrated in specific regions, tied to specific managers. And when he traced a chain upward, his stomach twisted. The names led back to one place, a shell company, a company that funneled profits, a company still linked to Kane. Even from prison, Kane's hand reached out like a ghost in the system. The next morning, Noah drove to the prison, demanding a meeting. Through the thick glass, Kane appeared, older, harsher, but the smirk was still there. "Noah," he drawled, "what a surprise. To what do I owe the pleasure?" "You're still pulling strings," Noah growled. "Workers collapsing. Wages stolen. You think I wouldn't find out?" Kane chuckled. "Oh, Noah, did you really think cutting off the head would kill the snake? I was just one piece. You haven't seen the network yet. And here's the best part. Your own people are still loyal to me." Noah clenched his fists. "Why? Why keep destroying lives?" Kane's eyes gleamed. "Because fear is profitable, and profit always wins." Noah leaned forward, his voice low. "Not anymore. I'll burn your whole network to the ground." Kane's smirk widened. "Careful. The deeper you dig, the darker it gets. And some things you can't unsee." When Noah left the prison, his phone buzzed. A message. It was a photo. The same young worker he'd seen earlier, the one with the short paycheck. She was standing outside her apartment, clutching a child's hand. And just like before, a red circle had been drawn around them. Noah's stomach turned. That week, he returned undercover once again. This time not as a new hire, but as a regional trainer, quietly inserted into restaurants across the troubled district. And everywhere he went, the same injustices repeated. A teenage boy yelled for taking too long to clean a spill. A grandmother mocked for her slow hands at the register. A worker told to clock out early, but keep working off the clock. Customers cheated with overcharges, refunds denied, complaints ignored. Each injustice was small on its own, but together they painted a picture of systemic rot that Kane had planted, and others were still watering. One night, after closing time, Noah sat in the back of a dim restaurant, scribbling notes. The fluorescent lights flickered. The fryer hissed softly, cooling. The manager, unaware of who he really was, dropped into a chair across from him. "You're new," the manager said, "so let me give you some advice. Don't ask questions. Don't make waves. This system, it's bigger than us, bigger than you. Do your job, keep quiet, and maybe you'll last." Noah asked softly, "And what if the system's broken?" The manager leaned in, voice low. "Then it breaks you." That night, Noah realized something chilling. Kane had been right. This wasn't just about one man. It was an infection, a culture of exploitation, spreading through people who had learned that cruelty was safer than compassion. And if he wanted to save the company, he couldn't just fight Kane. He had to fight the disease Kane had left behind. But before Noah could plan his next move, his phone buzzed again. Another photo. Maria. But this time, she wasn't tied up or circled in red. She was sitting at a table, smiling across from Alan Mercer. Noah's chest froze. The caption beneath it sent ice through his veins. "Some allies aren't who you think they are." Corruption doesn't always vanish when one man falls. It lingers in the habits, the culture, the silence of those too afraid to resist. Noah learned that true leadership is not a single battle. It is a war fought every day, against greed, against fear, against betrayal. The smallest injustices, an unpaid hour, a denied break, a silent complaint, are not small at all. They are cracks in the foundation of dignity. And if ignored, they grow until the whole house collapses. But sometimes, the deepest betrayal comes not from enemies, but from those you once called allies.